Something interesting that I noted when you began your lecture is that you began with trying to clear the doubts of some of the skeptics that Aisha radiallahu anha was truthful and that she, what were the initial things that you proved?
That she exists, that she believed in him, that she was truthful.
So these are some things that are so basic that to doubt them is to doubt every written thing that comes to you.
Yes.
You can't, if you begin to doubt that,
you should doubt yourself.
Yeah. that's something that maybe the viewers who see this video later on YouTube,
yeah,
something that they should keep in mind.
Yeah. So the brother's pointing out that I went way out of my way to speak about the existence of Aisha, matters that every Muslim accepts, her truthfulness, her belief in the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and these matters should not be a matter of disagreement at all, and they're too clear. And if you doubt this, you might as well doubt history. You might as well doubt everything in history. You might as well reject all testimonials. You might as well reject that that your own mother is your mother, because that's a testimonial, and you haven't done the DNA tests yet. And even when you do the DNA test, don't take it from the doctor. You have to do it yourself. Because if the doctor tells it to you, then it's a testimonial. This is a disease. This is a disease. And wallah, when I speak to people like this, that how do you know that he existed? I can't tolerate this. I can't tolerate someone that will deny stuff like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam existed. And wallah, so much of the stuff that I mentioned today is not controversial. So Aisha existing, her believing, even if we assume that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not a prophet, that he faked all this, why do people say there's no proof he existed? It's so much easier to say he existed, but he was a false prophet. Is it so hard to believe that his wife believed in him? Is it so hard to like this? Wallah, all these works, none of this existed. If you see the effort that's been put into preserving hadith literature, you wouldn't have these doubts. There's more evidence that not just Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam existed, and by the way, here's the reality. They have to have this bias. Some of these people have to have this bias, because if they believe in hadith methodology, that's a huge problem. If you believe in hadith methodology, you're going to have to accept Islam. There's no way around it. There's just too much. There's too much to reject. There's too much to shrug off.
Reject the other scriptures as well.
Yeah. If you doubt in hadith methodology, then you have to doubt in the four Gospels. You have to doubt the OT and the NT. You're not being fair to yourself if you think that the OT and NT are more reliable than a single hadith that was said by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A single word. So much effort has been put in, not just into ascertaining whether he said a line, but into whether he said a word. Subhanallah.
It's a checkmate for them. If they reject the hadith, then they'll have to reject the weaker.
Yes.
If they accept the hadith methodology, then that again proves that their scriptures are weak. So
it is. Good point. Ibn Umar narrates, Sahih Muslim, when he narrates the articles of faith, the pillars of faith. So he mentions prayer, he mentions the alms, he mentions fasting, and he mentions Hajj. Excuse me. He mentions Hajj, and then he mentions fasting. And his student says to him, fasting and then Hajj? And he says, no. Hajj and then fasting. That's how I heard the Rasulullah say it. And wallah, you'll find a lot more. You'll find a lot more in books of hadith.